This is 2OF Entertainment.
And good afternoon, Paul. Good morning, good evening, wherever we are.
Yeah, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. Next one. How are you doing today?
I'm good. And yourself?
Oh, really good. No, it's got spring on the way, so one of these days the snow will leave us, and we'll have to deal with some cutting grass and the nice smell of air and birds around, and it'll be looking forward to it. Almost as much as I'm looking forward to talking to our artist today, Audry Kalman. Now, I like to explain a little bit about our artist before we bring her in. And she's a graduate of OCAD, it's Ontario College of Art and Design University now, and her work was really influenced by her father. I think I found his collecting of artifacts, and a lot of them are very kind of the ancient artifacts that we I guess the Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of a stuff a little bit that she kind of sorted through, and he collected rugs and carpets and things. I guess carpets more than rugs, but that work influenced what she does in her abstract nature of assimilating people structures. And then some of this came about from some through COVID and some of these responses. And this is, I think we're going to show basically part of a series of her work from one of her shows. Is I just find this antiquity that is built into them, that it's a color palette and the way the structures are put. And I'd like to really talk to her about it and share with people as to her thoughts on where this idea comes from, how she produces these kinds of works, and just a bit of the background on it. So anyway, let's bring Audrey in.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great show, Paul. Cross between Raiders of the Lost Ark and lots of carpets. So let's bring Audrey on.
Hi.
Yeah. Good morning.
Have a great show, guys. I'm going to jump off on my magic carpet. So I'll see you at the end of the show.
Okay. There you go.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Well, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today, really about your work. I mean, it's very different than what we've seen a lot of other people doing, even in people that were doing portraiture and figurative works and things, and that response to material. I guess you have a little bit of fiber background that in what you did. And in the intro, I did introduce a little bit that some of your influences from your father, I guess, which is that's really family, like really personal. It's not like you found it in a book and you found it, by reading some other, other things that were influencing. Not that doesn't do it as well, but can you bring us a little bit up to speed on your art journey a little bit to date? A little bit. I mean, you were a graduate of OCA, but did you do similar things when you were a kid, like with your dad or with your family? Doing the art thing a little bit?
So my dad was an architect and a collector of all sorts of things, artifacts, pre-Columbian sculptures. He was a big collector of carpets, Oriental. He started the Textile Museum in Toronto.
Oh, nice.
So he was a lot of people knew of him because of his knowledge and his collection. And so I was brought up in a home that had all these things around me, whether it was these sculptures, carpets all over the house, paintings, and he was a bit of a painter himself. So it was definitely something that he liked to. It was his focus. It was his passion. And he definitely encouraged me to follow in that path because I showed an interest. I've always liked color, and just attracted to texture and fashion. So I guess it was a natural for me to go to OCA. I didn't study fine arts until later when I went to Hungary, because that's where my parents are from. But I studied textile design.
Yeah.
And so just to be practical and see see if I can actually get a job. So yeah, that's sort of where it started. And so a lot of my work is experimentation with texture and what I can do with that on a canvas. And I love using paper, ripping paper off, reworking the canvas or the wooden panel, and seeing what appears on the canvas, and then the image evolves once that's all happened. So most of my work is really about the process at the beginning, and I may have some vague concept of what I'm going to do, but that could change through the process.
Right. So you have this tickle trunk of pieces that you work with, right? You have the
That's right.
boxes of fabric, boxes of paper, and imagery,
Yes.
different things that you sort through, I guess.
Yeah, so I collect it. It's almost like I rip something off a canvas that I've already adhered. I take it off because it's a bit loose, and then I like what I see underneath it, because I have a whole system of what I put underneath those pieces of paper, and when I peel it off, something appears on that scrap of paper.
Right.
And so sometimes I toss it, other times I look at it and go, oh, that could be used for something else. I have, like, I remember my sister walking in to my studio, and she just was amazed at my boxes of stuff. Like, it's a bit startling.
Yeah, we are. I hate the word hoarders, but we do save things that we use and we need, right? You never know when you're going to need them, right? It's just you don't have the stash somewhere. You have to start over again, like because it takes years of collecting to get things of familiarity that you like to work with. So where else do you find these things if you don't slowly find them and put them into a place that you can find them? So I'd like people staying out of my studio so that I can keep my messes into my chaotic world in here. But it is your world. Is it kind of a comfort zone for you in your studio? Is it not? It's kind of
right. Like, no one else would be able to know they wouldn't be able to find anything, but
exactly.
I pretty much in that chaos know where things are.
Yeah. Does music influence you at all when you're working? You listen to music, or is it a meditative thing when you're just involved in your piece specifically?
No, I listen to talk radio. I like information coming at me. Okay. I like to be distracted a little bit.
You leave you don't leave the TV on. Or do you listen to podcasts or things while you're working, or do you?
Not really. Like, I like current events.
Okay.
So sometimes I will be influenced by something that's going on around me in the world, and I will, because I use a lot of newspaper in my work, and I will take something that has had an impact on me personally, or I feel something about it, and I will use it sort of in the background, but generally I like to use it in a subtle way, because I don't necessarily want that to be the predominant theme of my work, but right. It might be in there as something that I've thought about.
Okay. I'm going to get David to start our image up. And I don't know why I have Stephen on my mind here, but anyway, he used to help do the programming, but David is great at helping us produce the show. So this is the first image that we have up here. I guess multimedia artist abstract, and I think we're going to see, is this part of a series that we're going to go through of your work?
Well, this one in particular comes back to, I did a series called the Skirts series. And it's sort of, so I go back and forth from abstract, like complete abstract, to a little more figurative. Mm-hmm. so this piece was one of, the initial pieces that sort of started off this skirt series. And the skirt series comes, I believe, from this triptych that was in our house way back. And it's a series with family, and the mother is in the center with, sitting as a portrait, sitting in the center, and her family's around her, and with her skirt, and she looks very strong. She's the matriarch of the family, I would assume. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And then I like the concept of the female. Well, I've always, the female figure, and then I like the skirt concept. It feels like it's feminine, but there's a sense of strength, and maybe the skirt is almost part of the composition of anchoring the figure in that position. And then I like fabric, so I like playing with texture. And then I sort of played around with her being wearing something, like she's dressed, but she's not really dressed because it's also transparent.
Right. So you work basically on a square grid format. Is that a semblance of the structure that holds things together, right? You have this figure which is more organic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Round edges and soft and transparent at times, but it's still a figure. Very Modigliani like figures are beautiful. The long necks and the small, like it takes you away from the specifics of who that is, rather than it's more like this type of person, like more so than a specific person.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like it. It's hard to find that universality in a figure when you're working with. Otherwise, it looks like your aunt or your cousin who modeled for you. Do these figures just come in your mind, or do you have things specifically that you work from, like figure models?
No, I mean, I have done figurative drawing, painting, but no, this is more intuitive. I like certain aspects, like I do, as you said, Modigliani, the artist. I'm actually a big fan, but I do love the long neck.
Yeah.
I used to take ballet, so there's certain, I'm a pretty, I like sports, I like ballet, dance, and perhaps, like, I can't really identify exactly why the figure kind of has these qualities, but I also put them, often these figures have boundaries, so they're placed in such a way that there's kind of these lines or subtle, like they're placed within something,
Right.
and maybe that speaks to just the boundaries of life. I don't know.
Well, do you find it's a little like when you do figures that self-discovery is some of that a little bit? They're trying to find something within yourself that's psychological, or you don't know it probably when you're doing it, but it may be when you come back in the studio in a week or a month later, you see things in your work. Is that happen to you regularly?
It does. I mean, because I have a textile background as well, sometimes I like to add like the floral element to it, and then the texture, like scratching into it. It sort of has that. So I see that it's very important for me to have these layers. And I used to weave as well at OCA. So I like constructing my canvases, like there's something coming through from before. It's almost like a piece of fabric in some ways, and the transparency in this piece, you can see that there was something there before.
Right. Yeah, this one's a lot brighter in color, and in this three figures, that beautiful long vertical formatting. They almost feel floral to me. They almost just feel like a watercolor. They're so loosely laid out, but the structure, they this almost feels side view, middle view, other side view, where there's a one figure, but it's a triptych within itself, right? It just kind
Mm-hmm.
of, so is this central figure that you were talking about earlier, like the mother image that might have been spawned as well? Does that spawn this idea, this work as well? The image.
Perhaps, but I sort of moved into my another show that was the theme was dancers, and um, and so I think the three figures is basically it just happened on some level just because I like the way it's positioned on the canvas. And I also added, sometimes I would add another, 3 or 4 canvases that sit right beside it. So it could develop into a triptych or whatever. And it has that feeling of continuity with those figures. So they come and they continue onto another canvas. Maybe that is partially my fabric, my textile background, the idea of printing fabrics, and you have these repeat patterns. And so I played around with that. It also, this dancer concept also comes from this great uncle that I had who would fold wax paper and cut into it and create these dolls. And when
Oh,
he
yeah.
unfolded it, it created this, like, in my mind, dancing dolls. And so in fact, when I started painting, as I was painting the figures, I think that memory came up after. It's not like I thought about the memory first. It was an evolution of what I was doing on the canvas, and then I saw these figures and they became these dancers.
Okay. Yeah. Do you remember those paper dolls? My sister used to have the little figure of the doll, and then you get the clothes, and they had little
Yeah,
tabs.
yeah, yeah.
You
With the
used to,
tabs. Yeah.
yeah, the little tabs, and that'd be an interesting show if you had those almost life-size figures where you had these little dress type tabs that you put on, figures would make kind of a neat installation thing. Like
Yeah, yeah.
your idea, because it's a way of saying how large are these pieces initially that you work on? Are they bigger, smaller, or
It
what?
varies. I mean, I have these ones are quite small. These are, I mean, it doesn't look like a square, this one, but it is like 12 by
Yeah.
12.
Oh, okay.
Um, so
Yeah.
this one's quite small, and often I do like to work on that in that size because it feels I can move from piece to piece pretty quickly. I feel like there's still spontaneity within each piece, and it allows me to move to the next, and I'm still on
Yeah.
that theme, you know.
The thing you can't scale up things a lot of times. You can't say let's make this piece 3 foot in size or 4 foot in size in vertical height. Yeah, part of it is the materials you're working with are scaled to the 12 by 12,
Mm.
smaller. So it's like, if I was to blow this up, does that mean I need to find pieces that are of larger proportion to give that feel? It's sort of like if you've got a small brush and you're doing the painting, the small brush stays to a certain size of painting. You need a bigger brush for the bigger paintings. It's kind of a scale thing, I think. Do you agree with that a little bit?
I I do. I'm more comfortable with um, the smaller scale.
Yeah.
However, I do larger pieces, and I have worked in such a way where I um, I bring those elements of the paper and I just, you know, uh, I guess cut it to ratio
Yeah.
and see if I can create that same feeling on a larger scale. So I have done works for people and for specific spaces that require a larger dimension.
And a lot of your work, though, I think you could put two or three of them together to create a larger space, like a feeling. You wanted something horizontal, you put 312s together, you now have 36 inches of width with a nice little, and I'll say little film strip of three little vignettes that are happening that probably give you more excitement than one piece. Like, really, if you,
I agree. I think for me, that's exciting actually when I create one piece and yet somehow it connects to the next piece. And yeah, creating these. In fact, I did do a show way back, and it was a fundraiser for breast cancer, actually. And they were smaller pieces, and the concept, it was a large gallery in Toronto. And the concept was that people could come in and shift the pieces
I like that.
so that they could create their own diptychs, triptychs, whatever. And so it got people involved in the artwork. So I never think of my work as being delicate. I think of it as, I'm not, I like people touching it because there's texture, there's dimension to it. So when people were so excited about this, it ended up being a very good show.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of being able to, and they're smaller, you can move things around and the relationship. I've always believed one work kind of talks to the other one, and it's nice, very lyrical, I guess, in conversation. When you put things like next to each other on a wall or in a space, there is a relationship on a wall that it changes. If you move one left and right and you switch them, it makes a difference a little bit visually, and I guess maybe even psychologically a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show this other one here. A really different color palette. I mean, you basically have a very warm color palette in your works. This one has a different kind of brightness to it. Like so, I can see this multiplicity happening within your work.
Right. So this is a larger piece, and it was done for someone. And this was back when I was doing that dancer series. So the figures are like those cutout dolls, and they repeat.
Yeah.
However, each figure is not exactly the same as the other one. So I mean, I think that's why I had trouble continuing in textile design, because I didn't really enjoy creating the same thing. I like the originality, the whatever you can bring into each section of a piece that makes it slightly different.
Yeah. I think that's why we have so many artists that struggle with what they do. They're great at creating individual pieces, yet trying to figure out how to make multiplicity without, sacrificing their, creativity. Letting somebody else produce these pieces, say on a shirt or on a dress. This would be a lovely dress, for instance. The patterning for it. Some people don't want to get into wearables,
Right.
and deal with that. All the other thing, cups, bowls, and Christmas cards. I mean, how do you make a living as an artist, right? If you have to sell a lot of original work to make, and it needs to be elevated in price to afford a gallery to handle it, and for you to make a living by just producing the things you love to do. But do you take good photos of your work? Or is there always a good archive of what you've done?
Yeah, I do actually. I have files of my work, so some are better than others.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. It's that box, that tickle trunk of there's usually potential in good images that you've saved of your work for future use somewhere. It could be for a cover of, you paid a royalty for a cover for a magazine or something on something. You get a small amount of money, but at least you got paid for your exposure. It wasn't just exposure.
Right.
I encourage that too. Be paid for your exposure. Don't give your stuff away. Now, are you handled by a gallery at all in Toronto?
I'm not at the moment. No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Okay. But
I do commission work, and I'm on a couple of sites, but not a gallery like a physical gallery. Yeah.
No, it's here's another very similar. This is a diptych, vertical diptych, which is rare to see. They're usually horizontal,
Yeah.
The strength of the space between the wall is as strong as anything. That's such a um, I guess I'll say there's a bit of a crucifix feeling in the
Hmm.
work. But I love this feeling of like old paint on a wall, and it has that lovely texture on the bottom part. How many of us have seen that on a fence and not taken a photo of it? So,
Right. True.
so
True.
does those kind of things distract you when you go places and you say, "Oh, that's lovely texture. I got to take a picture of that," or a rubbing, or do you do anything like rubbings of texture at all? With
I don't. I feel like I have so much. I've collected so much work that
yeah,
so many remnants of paper that I don't. But I do notice things. So there are times when I've taken a picture of something that I think is really interesting.
yeah,
Um, yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but a lot of the gold in the background, like particularly around the head area,
hmm,
um, I think has also been influenced by my father's collection, which he collected icons, which is also like a religious kind of, you
yeah,
know, art. And so that definitely comes through in my work.
yeah,
And I also like the contrast of the gold or silver sometimes, as I use silver in the bottom of the silver leaf paper.
yeah.
Um, and I like the contrast of that to the roughness of the paint and the dripping and whatever texture I've created.
Yeah.
I like when those things fight together and then it becomes one.
Right. So and now you use wax on, do you use wax on this one as well?
Yeah, I
Is
did. I
that
mean,
your
for most of my pieces, I do.
adherent really is the wax? Does it layering and putting the wax in and embedding it into the wax and layering over things and
That's right. So I will start with wax and then I paint and then I add um, some paper, uh, sometimes newspaper, sometimes the gold leaf, whatever it is. And then I start painting. And then I will also remove some of the paper that I don't think is working, which creates its own texture by taking it off.
right?
And yeah, it just evolves. I mean, it's hard to, when you're in it, you don't actually have steps per
Yeah,
se, but you just see something that you don't like or you really like.
yeah. No, that's how you build consistency in a piece of work, in your body of work, I guess I'll call it like that, in that fashion. Because I think it's otherwise just if you don't have some structure, there's chaos throughout. You put it on a wall, and I think a gallery would be remiss if they turned you away. I mean, this is um, gallery should look at your collection of work, and I think it's amazing.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, there's a large. This is quite really a dramatic punch. You've gone into like the dark backgrounds. I think has really made these figures, and they're very very three individual types of characters here. They're different, but they're the same. How do I put it that way? I guess maybe
Hmm.
it's that the feeling of this. Um, when I've looked at this a couple of times, and I'm thinking, what is this about? And I going, it's almost like this person is standing in the light between a doorway and a wall. And you got that light coming in from behind, and there's two cool figures and one warm figure. So there's a lot going on here, and I'm probably messing with your head.
It-
I see a lot of things in here that I go, wow, this is a very beautiful piece. And there's a conversation. We just talked about that between two silent figures and one figure standing in the warmth of something of the light, sandwiched between two darker panels, which are cooler in the figures are cooler in color palette. And you go, I think this one is different than the previous ones. The other one, like there was three figures that were all reds, basically,
mhm,
was
mhm.
all really, really hot and all in your face. Like, wow. But these are three, it's like, and I'll just put, it's like these two bluish green figures are talking and the other guy's listening. It's like there's a conversation that I don't know. I'm asking questions more about this one than some of the other previous ones. And not that they didn't have questions. These ones become a deeper question to me. I don't know exactly the questions, but I have things in my head that I'm just verbalizing some of them to you. Can you
Hmm.
tell us a little bit about how this one came about and what it might mean to you? You know?
It's a good question. Uh, so I'm trying to remember how I created this piece, and I do remember that the gold leaf was actually came across at one point, because as you can see, the black paint came on after.
Mhm.
So I created that, the two sides of it. Uh, and I kind of like the idea of the gold on the either side on top of the head,
Oh yeah.
still reaching, and coming off the canvas.
Mhm.
There was some kind of element for me about maybe spiritual,
Yeah.
actually, when I think back to that idea of it being reaching from the bottom of the canvas to the top, and there's no end point really.
Mhm.
um yeah, I do like the way the middle figure is situated in such a way where it's a bit off to the side. It's almost like,
That's that.
it's interesting to hear your perception of what I've done,
Mm.
your ideas, because I don't always think about it quite so.
It probably wasn't meant to be as literal as I had mentioned, but it does look like you're seeing somebody through that doorway that is open just a little bit
Mm-hmm.
from a room, and you can see something through into the other room. And that figure is kind of looking back at you through this doorway slice of light that you're seeing, right? And you go,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's something, and you, like you said, you mentioned this light coming down on the heads of these two figures. And, it's like, you've captured a lot of different things that I think were in your mind, and we're just discussing them, but they become what a lovely conversation. It just, I think it's a lovely piece. How big is this one? Is this one of those 12 by 12 type thing size, or 12 by 10?
Yes, yeah,
So-
it is.
yeah,
um it is on, I believe, on canvas, actually.
yeah. Oh, I'd love to see this thing 8 feet high,
Yeah.
life
No.
size. Yeah, I would love to see this thing almost touching the floor,
Right.
going up.
Yeah.
And it'd be really hard to replicate this, but it's just saying scale makes a huge difference. Like, it really involves you when it's large. Like, you cannot avoid it. Like, it just, wow. Like, it just grabs you, and certain pieces can do it, and certain pieces are meant to be subordinate to other pieces. So you have a main conversation piece, maybe that might be larger in your show, and then you have other pieces that speak to the other conversations around that piece. And it's just an interesting, I like it. It's a very striking piece. um anyway,
Th- Thank you.
we'll move
Yeah,
on.
I mean, you've inspired me, actually.
Well, there you go. Like, get bigger. Yeah, make bigger. You know how to make a few bigger pieces. Galleries
Yeah.
love large pieces. They if you can figure out a way to, it's really hard to, you can use them as inspiration. I find really hard to just blow something up, like make it larger from a small thumbnail, or
Mm-hmm.
but I think you end up with another response piece that may be better,
Yeah.
or more refined, or the next stage of that piece. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think you're
this,
right.
yeah, this one is, I, it's it's jovial and fun. This piece, it just, there's the other ones are really thought provoking. The previous one we just looked at. This one's got a nice, this is jovial aspect to this one. You got what, four figures in here at least. Where did this
Mm-hmm.
come about? Was this part of your COVID series, or was this?
No, I did a show, and it was around the theme of peace.
Ah, okay.
And my series was called, People Are 100 Different Things. And so the concept is really about understanding connection, understanding that people maybe, have positive traits, negative traits, but it's all how you want to perceive others. And when you suspend judgment, then I believe there's the freedom or the space to have to appreciate others instead of being critical.
Yeah. No, we need to listen more than speak all the time. I think it's
So,
important. No, I love this. You can really feel the clip and paste to it. There's no real blend, and stuff. There these white type of figurines that are there, and there's a conversation. Again, I'm asking questions again, which is art. I think art does that. You need to have those. Otherwise, people do not spend their full 30 seconds in front of your work. I mean, it's hard to, isn't it? I'm bad about that too. You go to certain places and you are attracted to certain pieces, and you'll spend more time in front of certain pieces than other ones. It's nice to go around a second time if you can. If you're in a gallery show, going to openings is a little tough because if they're busy, there's a lot of people. Go back on a quiet day and take your time and look at pieces. But I'd love to see this in a show.
Yeah.
This one really has the feeling of patterns and shapes from material, like for making clothing, and it has. It's more abstract in its sense, I guess, maybe, and not so literal figure. It's kind of obscured a bit.
Right. It's part of the same series, and again, it's many pieces of paper, things I've just collected and put together, and then using paint and different strokes and allowing some things to come through and other things I just paint over. But yes, this was also connecting people and the idea of people are 100 different things.
How do you know when to stop, like when you're working on a piece?
Often I will put it. Well, part of the advantage of working in a smaller format is that I can do part of it, put it away, start another piece. So I will probably work, especially for a show, I will probably have 3 or 4 pieces going at a time. And so I will do it to a certain point, take it away, bring it back in front of me, and then I can see what's missing. Or maybe it's not, nothing's missing. For me, it's like a puzzle sometimes. Like sometimes I play with the little swatches of paper that I have, and I'll just put it in front of the piece or in a certain position to see if it will work there and add it on or not. Yeah. But I do like playing. I mean, I love fashion too. So for me, it's fun to take out a swatch of something and say, oh, let's put this on there or not.
Yeah, I remember an artist that she had a stash of, the old patterns you used to be able to buy in the little making dress patterns and stuff, that thin brownish kind of paper. Yeah. They had all the lines on how to cut out a pattern, and she did some amazing pieces because they were the same kind of thing, collaged and painted on, yet let some of that type come through. And it was very fashion orientated, but it was very organically designed pieces, and they were abstracted pieces as well, but very transparent, because that stuff, you wetted it, you could see right through it. So you could do drawings. And I remember in the day there was hordes of this stuff. You couldn't give it away. Every woman had, I think my wife had drawers full of patterns for doing clothing for our kids and stuff in the day when you used to sew. And you kind of went, what happened to all those fashion things? Did they all go to the garbage dump? Like it's like, and they were kind of cool to look at, you know. Somebody, yeah. Anyway, they're just an idea of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do like fashion. I mean, this is again part of that series. People are 100 different things.
Right.
And in fact, sometimes I just put things, like I just add things arbitrarily, or I just like a pattern that I have on a piece of paper, and then I just play around with it, and these figures are just created in that process. So
Yeah, this feels very. This is starting to become this ancient world of the three kings, you know. And there's a feeling of the desert, and there's a feeling of, I don't know what it is. It feels very regal, but old world regal. You know, it's not today regal. It's you know, it's where people wore long garments, and they had that. I think there almost feels like there's some male figures in this one a little bit too, but maybe not. But it's just, you know, there's and it feels like, I hate to, you know, it's not a real Picasso-y thing. It's kind of is and it isn't, because the figures are not literal a figure, but they're more of a feeling of a figure, you know. And I, you know, let me, and how many are in this one? There could be a half a dozen figures in this piece in itself. It feels all the different heads that go back, and
right, true.
or they're just shapes. Are you? If somebody said, "I love this piece of work, but I want to see it horizontal," do you mind? People say, "Well, what would this look like as a landscape?" Like, does that bother you as an artist to say, "Well, you should look at it in this direction"?
I've never had anyone. I mean, there are certain other pieces that are completely abstract with no figure in mind, that feels like you could change the position. For this, I guess I very much painted it in that direction.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess people do what they want.
If you see heads and you see different things, you tend to want to put them at the top, like heads.
Right.
Unless it's a reclining figure of some kind. But I think it's, I just had other abstract artists, and they go, well, you can turn it around any which way you want. And their art can be done like that. But when they're literally, okay, there's a bottom and there's a top, it's kind of awkward to say, well, it's abstract, but really it is a figurative piece.
Yeah.
In itself. No, it's a lovely, and you got a bit of gold leaf in this one as well. And you work on the side there on the right, maybe.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really hard to take photos of these things so people can, you know, it looks so different on your wall, in real life, rather than a photo of it. It's really hard to take imagery of golds and silvers and some of the foils that are used. But and it's what I like about it's not glaring and overly bright, and it's got that burnished look of the golds. Like, and does wax give you that? Does that pull back?
It's mainly because I do a wash over it. I don't like it really shiny. I like it to blend a bit into the piece. So I remove that shine. I mean, some of that paper is so thin that it's very easy to get rid of, you know, the gold, the very shiny gold aspect of it. However, there are some pieces that I've done where I leave that sparkling gold.
Do you have friends that leave little stashes of paper on your doorstep?
No, I wish they would.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I have a number of friends that they do work in metal and recycled metals, and he said they'll come out one day, there's a bunch of metal laying on their lawn or leaning up against their fence. Some neighbor had a bunch of metal, and they thought, it'll be nice, I'll just give it to this person who likes to rebuild things. So using found objects and things, so it's just kind of fun. So people out there, if you know Audrey, just leave stashes of your old Life magazines in your
definitely.
Well, quality of paper means something as well, right? There's a, I mean, otherwise you're sorting through used bookstores and you're looking for people that have left stuff out. You know, are you a dumpster diver? You gonna do look for the recycled books and the recycled things that people are doing?
Something has to really catch my eye for me to do that. I won't go. I mean, I have so many things in my own studio that if I started bringing home things from outside, people would be really afraid.
It is more work, bigger work, bigger work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is very Mandela-like, it has that, there's an icon feeling for this piece. And you were talking about some of your dad's pre-Columbian collection, and, figurines that he had that were, I don't know, fertility types of things. And I think, can you tell people a little bit about that little story about that?
In terms, oh, you mean the fertility figures?
Yeah, I just thought that.
Oh, yeah. So I have been, because my dad collected all sorts of artifacts. One was, he had many pre-Columbian figures, and there was this one particular fertility figure that I had in my art room for the longest time, and I started using that as that was a source for my work. And I ended up using it way back before I had kids, and in the end I had twins. I also have a third child as well, but it's quite hilarious because I do look back at that and wonder, did that have some kind of impact on my
I hope
on my
so.
life?
I love things that you think old world stuff. Why not? It's
Yeah, you never know.
yeah. Well, it's the old version of in vitro, and you just say, "Oh, perfect." That's just like, wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I wasn't really focused on that aspect of my life. It was
Yeah.
just the figure itself that
Yeah.
I was taken by. And I liked, a lot of my older pieces. I like the aging of it, and so I try and bring that aging quality into my painting.
Yeah.
So this, the gold center, actually was a metallic piece of atop of a rusted bottle of something.
Mhm.
And then I used nails to go around it. And then I think it's a more decorative nail in the center. And
Mhm.
when I started doing that, that was sort of the beginning of this piece for a show. It was a fundraiser for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And that was more recent. And I called the show Time, as you can see.
Yeah.
In the painting. It's a panel actually, and time seemed a very relevant title, both personally because my husband is dealing with cancer himself, not that specifically, but it just seems like time is something that
Very precious.
is invaluable.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
that,
we need to respect that a little bit. That to do what we like to do within the time frame that we're allowed to do it, and
right.
our health that we can do it. And I think you find that as you age, we do different things as we get older than what we did when we were naive and younger, like in your works, or have they always been consistent?
Well, I think at a certain point, I would say yes, it changed, or developed. I would say it more developed. I mean, I was always influenced by the things around me, but I think I struggled with the idea that it needed to mean something very specific. So sometimes when I was doing something very abstract, I wanted to figure out what that meant in, personally. What did that piece mean to me? And
Right.
sometimes I don't know if it's always that clear in the moment, exactly what that is. But as my pieces evolved, and this was also part of the Time series, um, I did a lot of circles, even 25 years ago. So, and maybe that has to do with fertility. So the fertility figure that I spoke about before, it had a big sort of stomach. And so the circle seemed to make sense for me, and the idea of continuity. And so in this piece, it's a triptych, and I use decorative nails at the top, and then the gold leaf, and then just the distressing of the materials. It just felt ageless in a way, and
Right.
solid.
No, it's lovely to hear the story behind that, because they're, the oval, is very egg-like. There's a lot of the symbolism that's deeper than maybe even when you initially produced the piece. He said they needed this for some reason, and you put it in, right? And it's sort of the ones at the top. When you look at the top ones, they're not all the same. They go from a dark to light, light to dark backgrounds, and some are more definitive than others. There's a nail within the oval, and that repetitiveness that, the nail is such a metallic, hard item compared to this. Feels like old wood.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like
they're wood panels.
Yeah. And when I look at this, I go, and I have a fence that I just replaced last year, and I go, when I tore that one board off, it left where all the paint from 20 years ago was, and then the new paint was above and below it. So it created this feeling within my, oh yeah, you need to replace it because it's rotting. But I kind of looked at this thing. I said, wow, that's kind of neat, because the textures and the way the water got in behind the board created different patterns, and there was some, rotting area, and some, any kind of, I appreciate it, but I can't deal with it. There's too much.
Right.
Anyway, this is a really nice snippet of my fence. Thank you. For me. But I do love the oval aspects that are within that piece. And they almost feel like the three in the middle. I was like, because there's the center one's got a little dark blacker piece in there. They're three very different, same size shape, but very different texturally, like as lines on the wood or on this panel. And you go, it felt, there's almost I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure out. I'm starting to see things in each of the three. I'm wanting to look for things. That's what it is. Maybe what is more, I want to see things because I've seen previous pieces of your work. And now I'm saying, oh, where are the figures? I'm looking, starting to look for figures, and maybe they're there, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're only in my imagination. And I think I like that, in discovering what you thought you saw rather than what you see. There's such strength in encouraging people to paint what they thought they saw rather than painting literally. So many people can paint really well. I can paint that, but can you paint from your memory of what you like? And because your memory removes all the stuff that doesn't remember or want to remember, it only remembers what you want. And you paint that, or you produce art based on what you thought you saw rather than what you see. I think that's a way of finding you. That's how you find you. Otherwise, you copy somebody. And you do that. You're finding, your work is all intuitive. You're there. You're responding to the page in 4 separate panels on your table or whatever, and you work between them. And you have your stash of comfort that you go to, and you work on it. I think that's a lovely way of organizing and working with your space. And this one, how thick are they? Like, normally is this like a normal 1.5 inch panel?
It's I would say it's less than that. It's less than an inch.
Okay, so they're okay. Yeah, but it's a wood. Is it a solid wood or is it a framed wood panel?
It's solid wood. Yeah.
It's just a solid wood piece. So okay, that's like a little plank of board that you're working on. Okay, get that. Yeah. No, I can see the nails are becoming. Is this more of a current piece than previous?
Yeah. So this is all part of that time series. And this really was a collection of pieces of fabric, pieces that I just have in my studio, and combine the different elements. I mean, there is something in the structure that feels figurative, just because of the way I laid out,
Mhm.
the top and the bottom. So for me, there's a lot of times the way I compose or my pieces. I think in the background there always is some kind of figure to
Yeah.
some, whether you can actually see it, which probably most people may not.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter to me because I love the abstract component. I love the idea of using the nails, which I've never. I did this most recently, and it was also because the nails. There's a couple of pieces, and I don't think I have them here, but I combined threads as well, or string, and I attached it to the nails and wound them around. And
Okay.
it was the idea of unraveling and, illness
Yeah.
and the stress of things that are around me,
Mhm.
which I incorporated into my work. This piece in particular just has the paper and the nails,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's any string in that. But I like playing around with, I love jewelry too. So I like finding things that I can stick into a new piece that I haven't used before.
Yeah. No, I love found objects, and I think if people saw your show and they saw figurative pieces in previous pieces, and they came upon this piece, they'd be looking for the figure in it anyway. Like they start
Mm-hmm.
seeing where, I mean, I can see the oval in the middle just by a rough cutout. So it was a refined oval in the previous one, like
Mm-hmm.
a triptych. But
Yeah.
this one, there's still a symbolism, maybe a face, maybe
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I had to get to this piece. Yeah. Well, this is a bit. This is Mardi Gras. This is a beautiful piece. I love this, and it's too bad it's really small. But
It's actually not. This is a big piece.
okay, how big would this be about?
48 by 36, I think.
Wow, you're blowing me away now. You said, okay, finally, you got
Y-
a large piece. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. It's yeah. There's this parade fun going on. There's this is a beautiful piece. Where was this one inspired through? This piece.
So this is post COVID.
Oh,
So I did many pieces during COVID that were a lot more sedate. The colors were pretty,
yeah,
pretty, uh, you know, moderate. Not just they didn't bounce out like this
yeah,
one does. So this is just about getting out there, connection, people being together,
yeah.
and just being alive. I mean, that's really what it's about,
It's
is
yeah.
is living.
It's a keeper. It's a beautiful piece. It's got energy and life, and there's many conversation. I can see post COVID. There's this joy of finally release, getting out and doing something again. And you know, we look at COVID in hindsight and say, oh, how evil that was. And you say, you know what? It has given us an experience after in the post COVID time to say, enjoy life. It's valuable, it's treasured, and this is a joyful experience, this piece. I have to get
Thank
one
you.
more in here. Is this part of that same series? This
It
one?
is. It is. Yeah, I sort of started doing many people. I mean, I also get inspired by what I see in my collection of paper. So
Yeah.
it sort of evolves. And then I know at the beginning, I think the direction that I'm going to go, and then it evolves into something perhaps quite different. I think in this piece, I just start with my process, which is creating the texture, and I knew that I wanted to have several people or figures in this piece.
It's an end on this one here.
Yeah, and that's more recent. Again, back to the 3 figures. No real rhyme or reason. It's just I like that composition, and I don't know if you can see the sort of tree or flowers in the background on the right-hand side of the figure, but it's just life and the fabric and the papers. It's just the way I put it together.
Yeah, no, it's very consistent with your style of work. You know, you have a good strong body of work. I love it, and these are lovely. These figures. There could be more than 3 figures in this one. I mean, you just look at the layering figure within a figure. Like that center image has a reddish figure within that white.
Yeah.
There's lots of
possibilities.
How big is this piece again? This one?
This is a smaller one again.
Yeah, a smaller one. So it's really hard to tell. You know, I guess only when you start seeing typography in the work, whether it's from a small newspaper or is it a large type on something else. But I like that. Are you specific about the type of wording like in the text that goes into the pieces, or is it just textural, meant to be a texture?
Often it is just about texture. Like sometimes I will specifically put the words upside down so that I don't need people reading it, because that's not relevant to the piece.
Yeah.
But other times I will direct it the way I want it, and I do want someone to see what is there in writing the words.
Like the words, like the timepiece that you had.
Exactly. And I will try to, even if I do want someone to read it, I will try and make it more subtle, because I don't want that necessarily to be the only focus in the piece. Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking. It's just so short. We talked about your work, and just the time frame just flies by. And I appreciate you spending the day for this morning with us, talking about your work. And we'll help push this out a little bit on Artists in Canada. We'll bring David back in here shortly here, and he can have his questions he likes to ask usually. And there he is. He's coming back in.
Okay.
Yeah, fascinating. I'm glad you taught me how to think today, Paul. That sounded very cynical, but it wasn't meant to be. But just by looking at all, I mean, the one that 2 or 3 slides back, or 2 slides back, that you painted when you're in COVID, you said, I just caught a glimpse of it out of the corner of my eyes. I picked up something else I was doing on my desk, and I thought to myself, that looks like a row of terraced houses with long chimneys.
Okay.
Which, of course, is not at all what you were trying to achieve. So, like Paul says, it's absolutely fascinating that once you learn how to think, to look at this stuff, it could be anything. And that's I think is the real joy.
Yeah, that's what you want to take home with you. Is that kind of
yeah. And if I'd like to take some home, Audrey, what would be can you give me a ballpark price of what your pieces are going for?
The smaller ones are about 500, between 400 and 500.
Yeah. And
then I go up to anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000, depending on the size. I mean, the truth is that even the small pieces, they're not fast, because I go back and forth. So, and I really have to feel like it's done. And often it's not done it's never done in a day. That's for sure. Yeah. But that's
maybe that should be your tagline then, Audrey, is the slow multimedia artist.
Right. True.
Well, she's prolific, and I think and I love her work, and if it's galleries are looking, you're a gem, and I think it would be a good thing, a good fit for certain galleries to have your work. It'd be lovely. Anyway, again, thank you very much for everybody joining us on Canadian Art Today, and David for hosting us and having our conversation today.
Yeah, well, I have to do my bit for King and Country, as they say. So We'd just like to encourage everybody who's enjoyed the show to like and subscribe. Paul has an absolute library of artists that he's interviewed. So once you finished looking at all of Audrey's work, and then you go back and look again, as Paul suggested, and then you go back and look again for the third time. There's also a huge playlist of artists that have been interviewed on Canadian Art Today. Sorry, Paul, you wanted to...
No, I think this is traditionally the number 135, 135th one, and we're in our 4th year. So thank you very much. And I know there's a lot of shorts that are out there and some different things, but I think there's 135 different artists already. So I appreciate that very much. And we're booked solid for the next 2 months. So lots of there's a great artist coming this next week. Sculpture, very different stuff. So encourage people tune in next week as well. Thank you.
Yes, well then. Until then, everybody, thank you so much, Audrey, for being with us. And thank you, everybody, for watching Canadian Art Today.